Everybody. It's Phil Lee returning with another episode of Civil War Chat. Today is the 14th of June. It's a Monday, 2021. Click on the subscriber button below if you'd like to subscribe to future episodes, and also the notification bell in the upper right. Today's topic is manipulating statehood admissions for votes. That may sound familiar to those of you that are keeping up on current events, but let me explain what happened during the 19th century when the Republican Party was in control, and it was basically an anti-Southern party. After abandoning Southern blacks in 1877, the Republican Party lost its first postbellum presidential election 11 years later in 1884, when Democrat Grover Cleveland of New York beat Republican James G. Blaine of Maine by a popular vote margin of only 0.5%. Moreover, Cleveland would have lost the electoral college vote had he failed to win the popular vote in his home state of New York, where his victory margin was only 0.1%. Since Cleveland was the first Democrat elected president in 28 years since James Buchanan, the Republicans were determined to deny him a second term in 1888, thereby renewing the long-term Republican dominance. The tariff, which was the chief source of federal tax revenue at the time, was the major 1884 election issue. From an average of 19% before the Civil War, the postbellum rate on dutiable items up until that time averaged about 44%, more than twice as much. Now, these high rates caused the federal government to generate about 20% more revenue than it spent, meaning they had a budget surplus, and it was year after year. Now, both parties wanted to reduce the budget surplus, but differed on concerning how that should be done. Democrats, particularly Southern Democrats, argued that the tariff should be cut for two reasons. First was to lower consumer prices for everybody, everywhere in the United States. And second was to stimulate raw materials exports, such as cotton or other agricultural goods, to Europe's manufacturing economies. Now, here's how it works. Lower tariffs would enable the Europeans to increase their sales of manufacturing goods to America, thereby generating the exchange credits, meaning dollars, needed to buy our raw materials exports. See, so cutting tariffs has two effects. It reduces consumer prices all over the country. And secondly, it stimulates the export business, not just for Southern farm products, but also Northern farm products. Now, Republicans did not want to cut tariffs since restrictive duties enabled Northern manufacturers, such as the makers of cotton, textiles, woolens, and iron products, to have domestic monopolies or near monopolies. They instead wanted to reduce the surplus by spending it. Yeah, we got a surplus. Let's reduce it by spending it. Doesn't that sound familiar? But they wanted to spend it selectively on their constituents, nobody else's. The result was the 1887 Dependent Pension Bill that increased the monthly stipends and generously expanded family member eligibility. The bill was basically a bribe to Union veterans to vote Republicans. You see, this bill would give no money to the South. It was all for the North. And the bribe worked. In 1888, Indiana and New York, in the 1888 presidential election, they flipped into the Republican column after having voted for Cleveland in 1884. As a result, Republican Benjamin Harrison replaced Grover Cleveland as president. Significantly, however, Harrison lost the popular vote by about 1%. Thus, during the Harrison administration, Republicans anxiously sought ways to maximize chances that he would win re-election in 1892. They didn't want Cleveland to come back, or any Democrat to come back in 1892. They wanted Harrison to stay. So first, they further liberalized the Union veterans' pensions with the Dependent and Disability Pension Act signed by Harrison in 1890, 2 years after he was elected. They kept the tariffs high by telling the Union veterans that high tariffs were necessary in order to fund the pensions they would pay to the soldiers. Isn't the government wonderful? Second, in 1889 and 1890, now this is significant, in just 2 years, in less than 2 years, the Republican Congress admitted 6 new states from the Western territories that had previously demonstrated that they would provide states such as California, Nevada, Kansas, Nebraska, and Colorado that would reliably vote Republican. The 6 new states that came in during the 1889 and 1890 period, just 6 new states that came in: North Dakota, South Dakota, Washington, Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho, all in less than a 2-year period, would provide 20 additional electoral votes. Although Republicans expected to win all 20 for Harrison in 1892, they only won 15 because of a surprise third-party candidate who took 4 of the 20 electoral votes. Nonetheless, the Republican politicos reasoned correctly that the 6 new states would do little for Democrats. Although Cleveland beat Harrison and did win a second non-consecutive term in 1892, he only got a single electoral vote from the 6 new states that the Republicans rushed through the statehood process in 1889, 1890. Unfortunately for the South's export economy, however, Cleveland was never able to successfully reduce tariffs. And that would not happen until Southern-born Woodrow Wilson became president in 1913. In short, the 19th century anti-Southern Republican Party set an example that today's Democrats are following as they try to solidify their control of the federal government by creating new states like they're trying to do with the District of Columbia. The frightening point, however, is that today's tyrannical Democrats may establish a long-term dynasty, just as the Republicans did from Lincoln's 1860 election until the Great Depression of the 1930s. Now, during that entire period, Democrats were only able to elect 2 presidents, Cleveland and Wilson. Cleveland's tariff initiatives failed. That's what the South wanted him for, and he failed because of the Republican Congress and the bribes that they paid to the Union veterans. And Wilson would have not been elected but for the rupture of the GOP between Theodore Roosevelt and William Howard Taft in 1912. Without that, Wilson would never have been elected. In sum, the more I study postbellum politics, the more concern I have over America's future. Today's Democrats are not only tyrannical, they have a real opportunity here to control this country for the next 100 years. I've never seen this in my lifetime. I've never seen what I think is so much at stake. And I know it's always, all pundits say that, today, this election is more important than anything ever, blah, blah, blah. Well, the more I study Reconstruction, the more I see things that worry me about a new dynasty, a century-long dynasty of Democrats. And they're appealing to the worst in us, racism. They're paying bribes. They're paying bribes. They spend money. It's bribery. That's all it is. If you want to learn more about Reconstruction, get Phil Lee's Southern Reconstruction. If you'd like to get it at Barnes & Noble or Amazon, I think it's $22. You go ahead and just get it. My last name is spelled L-E-I-G-H. Just do a search on Amazon or Barnes & Noble for Southern Reconstruction by me. You can buy it there and get it for $22. If you want an autographed copy from me, then you need to email me. And that would be at Phil, P-H-I-L _Lee, L-E-I-G-H @me.com. I will cover postage if you're here in the United States, and my price would not be $22, it'd be $25. But you get delivery here in the United States covered on that, and you get an autographed copy. Okay, that is our show for today, and thanks for watching.